everyone. Welcome back to the All Things EarthCache channel. If you're into EarthCaches, you're in the right place. Today in this video, we're going to be reviewing an EarthCache in Rome, Georgia. Now, I've gone to Rome for many a years now to attend the Going Caching mega. I would always go there to catch up with friends, teach my EarthCache 101 class, and maybe get a little geocaching in as well. One thing about the place is that where it's located, there was an EarthCache about 200 or so yards away in the very park that the mega was in. But while it was super close, I had never gone and taken the time to visit it and work it and log it. This time I was resolved that I was going to knock that out, and I was really super excited with what I had found, both the location as well as the EarthCache itself. So without further ado, Ridge Ferry Wetlands EarthCache. Rome is in the northwest corner of Georgia, about 30 minutes away from Alabama and less than 90 minutes away from Chattanooga. Rome is certainly a cache-rich environment. You could easily spend a weekend caching here. But today, we're focused on the Ridge Ferry Park Wetlands EarthCache with the GC code GC7DRZB. It's a 1515 and has received 122 favorite points at the time of production. Like many of you, I'm not a geologist and initially felt like an odd place for a wetland when I looked at it on the map, until I realized the proximity to the Oostanaula River about 600 feet away, and that the area hasn't always looked like this. But as the name suggests, this EarthCache is going to provide you a lesson on wetlands and how geology affects them. So here you see the wetlands of Ridge Ferry Park. According to the description, a wetland is simply that. It's an area where water either covers the soil or is near the surface of the soil for all or varying periods of time during the year. These areas with a prolonged presence of water, they create an ecosystem that is vital to humans. The diversity of bacteria and algae, they break down and detoxify a variety of wastes, purifying the water. Wetlands can also act as a buffer, soaking up rainfall or floodwaters, and then slowly releasing it back during times of drought. Of course, if you've seen my other EarthCache reviews, I think all EarthCaches should answer the question, why is this like that? So, what creates a wetland? The underlying geology does. Some rocks naturally are impervious to water, and others can become impermeable if their pores become filled with particles. This can create areas that allow water to accumulate, thus creating a wetland. The local geology also plays a role since the water interacts chemically with the underlying rocks, providing a source of mineral nutrients for all of the wetland inhabitants. So while doing research to put all this together, I found a little bit of maybe a historical footnote that I wanted to share because I'm a fan of when geology and history can intersect. So I'm just going to read it straight. The park itself is named for Major Ridge, a Cherokee who operated a ferry just north of Ground Zero. His Cherokee name translated as the man who walks on the mountaintop, but the Englishmen just called him the Ridge. He fought at the Battle of Horseshoe Bend, and after receiving the title of Major by General Jackson post-battle, he began using it as his first name. After the war, he established a plantation and ferry service, but he also helped establish a Cherokee nation modeled after the U.S. government. He was shocked by the Indian Removal Bill of 1830, and as Georgians began to move into Cherokee land, he was convinced that either warfare or negotiation with the U.S. must occur. He became a leader of what was known as the Treaty Party, which would remove the Cherokee to present-day Oklahoma in exchange for $5 million to the Cherokee people. He and others signed a treaty without authorization from the Cherokee government, which was signed by President Jackson and passed by one vote in the Senate. So this was a ratified treaty, although one government, the Cherokee government, did not officially sign it, just a party of the Cherokee government. Some of the Cherokee moved willingly, while other Cherokee fought. And eventually this whole thing led to the Trail of Tears. In retaliation for his part of this tragedy, he was ambushed and killed by unknown assailants in Oklahoma. So you can also go see his museum, his plantation museum is just north of Ground Zero. So if you have time and you're into that kind of history, I recommend you go check that out.
So no special tools are required to answer the tasks. You simply need to read the description, come to ground zero, and apply some observation and analysis based on the reading. No photo is required from ground zero, although I do recommend it.
The park itself, you're probably not going to have any issues finding it. Your phone apps are going to work just fine. There are no fees to get into the park, and it is open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. There isn't a visitor center, but there is an eco center, which was under renovation when I visited in October of 24. Plenty of parking is on site, as well as there are bathrooms on site. There is a walking trail. There are playgrounds for the kids. You've got grills for picnic areas, and it is a pet-friendly park. They don't sell food or drink on site at the park, but you've got a variety of options right down the street. And there are a handful of geocaches in the park, as I will show you here. Okay, so from a parking perspective, ground zero is the little yellow star, and then you've got plenty of parking in the yellow area. As noted earlier, from a safety standpoint, I would be careful of that little red box. That's the turn in to Ridge Ferry Park. Just like anything else, just be careful of the traffic. And then for geocaches, there you see the EarthCache itself. There is a great high favorite point traditional right there. Obviously, don't mind the mega. And of course, when you're on site, you've got to go to pick up that virtual that's there as well.
I think traffic on this main road leading to the park is your main concern. Depending on the time of day and your direction of travel, I would just be really careful with this roadway. The other thing I would add would be to stay on established trails. You definitely don't want to fall into the wetland, and I really have no idea how deep this thing is.
As I've said previously, Rome is a cache-rich environment. You can find 8 different types of caches here. Sadly, no webcams. There are a dozen with over 100 favorite points, and 2 have over 400 favorite points. Now, for a town with a population of under 40,000, there always seems to be a ton of things to do. There are restaurants serving southern foods and cuisines from around the world to try, as well as locally grown vintage wines and craft beers. You can check out the rivers through the public riverboat tours, or you can go paddling on your own, or you can just simply walk along the riverside trails. The historic downtown area is always bustling with events, shopping, and dining as well. For those that love history, in addition to what I spoke of earlier, there's also the Tomb of the Known Soldier, which has an interesting story that you should look up. I'll leave the links in the description. All right, so let's talk about how this one stacks up on the Burgess scale. So I love this wetland area. It was far more green and verdant than I thought it would be. And I'm not sure if it was simply because of the time of year. I went in October, but it was pretty darn spectacular. And now that I think about it, the vegetation was dense enough that it was difficult to see out. I could sort of hear the cars and the traffic, but it was kind of neat just to feel really kind of self-contained in this little world. The EarthCache itself has a great lesson with supporting graphics. It's written slightly above the 8th grade level, but it doesn't use a bunch of geological jargon. From a task perspective, they're clear, they reinforce the lesson, they require observation analysis, and they're appropriate in number. So the only downside on this one is really that wetlands are a really common topic. Just in the state of Georgia, there are 17 wetland EarthCaches, which translates to 14% overall. Ultimately, on my rubric, Ridge Ferry Park Wetlands scores a 4.4 out of 5. But let's set aside that score here for a second. This EarthCache is just really well written. The way it's laid out, the lesson, the tasks, superb. So when I taught my EarthCache writing 101 class at the Going Caching in October, I told those in attendance, if you wanted a great example of how to write an EarthCache, this one is certainly on my list. Of course, reminder, if you're interested in writing an EarthCache, the class is now here on YouTube. And don't forget, you can always reach out if you have questions or if you need support.
When you come to Rome, this EarthCache should definitely make your list. While there are a ton of different caches in Rome, this is only one of 3 EarthCaches in the area, and it's very beginner friendly from an EarthCache perspective.
All right. In closing, I want to make sure that I give a shout out to the cache owner, Sean J. Allen, for creating and maintaining this EarthCache for the rest of us to come find. Now that, of course, the going caching mega is gone away, I'm sure he'll get a little more peace in his life, if you will, from all of the folks out there logging that darn thing. And quick filming story, as I always like to do. So I'm out on ground zero, or at least I'm near ground zero. I'm on location. I'm trying to record parts of this video. And there are geocachers at ground zero, as there want to be, of course. And they can tell what I'm doing. They're probably, I think they're working the traditional that was there, and they can tell what I'm doing. So they're respectful, and I'm respectfully off to a distance as well. And when they're finally done and they're leaving, as they're walking towards me, they apologized for taking so long, which I don't care about, of course, because I'm doing my own thing and they're doing their thing. Come to find out though, that as they're leaving and as they got closer, one of the pair of ladies that was there was actually a geocaching buddy of mine, Belly Dancer 2. And she introduced me to a new friend, her friend, DeWitt's. And of course, this is just the beauty of megas and of geocaching. I first met Belly Dancer at Going Caching years ago, and I don't think I had seen her since. Our paths hadn't crossed. So again, got to see her at this final one and make a new friend. And again, that's the beauty of megas. And I'm really sad to see, Going Caching was the last one this year, because of the number of people and the good times that I had year after year. But again, that's the beauty of geocaching in and of itself. Okay, so in the next video, though, I want to make sure I do a shout out for the next video as well. Just in time for the holidays, I'm going to give you 20 different gift ideas for every EarthCacher that's out there. Some will be applicable to geocaching, but most certainly be applicable to EarthCaching itself. So I hope everybody has a great, until I see you again, a great time, and you find lots of geocaches, and maybe a handful of them will be EarthCaches. Okay, take care.